From the highly charged Louis-Schmeling bout to the story behind the century's greatest sports photos, here's a list of the greatest knockouts in boxing history. Throwing it all the way back to the 1930s, we have a double entry to kick things off. Joe Louis, aka the Brown Bomber, and Max Schmeling will forever be remembered as two of the greatest boxers of all time. Going into the match, Schmeling was considered the underdog. Louis was bigger, younger, and had an undefeated record. The most memorable thing about Schmeling at the time was his controversial title win via disqualification, the only one in history, in 1932. Schmeling was also considerably older, and fans believed that he'd soon announce his retirement. After losing to Louis, of course, Louis was reportedly so confident he'd win that he spent most of his time leading up to their first face-off in 1936 playing golf. The German boxer, on the other hand, had been studying Louis's moves, training day and night, and overall perfecting his boxing technique. So, in hindsight, it should have come as no surprise to the sold-out Yankee Stadium arena and the 57 million listeners tuning in via radio when Schmeling knocked out the top dog in round 12. That's right. Louis powered through 12 rounds while Schmeling used every opportunity to send him flying to the canvas. This would have been the first time in Louis's career that any opponent had managed to knock him down, let alone knock him out. That's right. Louis powered through 12 rounds while Schmeling used every opportunity to send him flying to the canvas. Schmeling eventually decided to put Louis out of his misery in round 12 with a right hook that had the Brown Bomber seeing stars. This set the tone for their second matchup in 1938. Again, it was a highly anticipated and politically charged event. Schmeling had technically qualified to face James Braddock for the title in 1937, but talks fell through. Reportedly, the Boxing Association anticipated a higher turnout for Louis versus Braddock. They also feared that the Germans would hold off on title challenges if Schmeling won. Instead, Louis versus Braddock ended up taking place with the Brown Bomber winning. However, he announced that he would only take on the title if he defeated Schmeling. This hyped up their second match in 1938 at Yankee Stadium. The turnout was even bigger this time. 70,000 fans in attendance and over 70 million listeners tuning in. This match truly showcased what both Louis and Schmeling were capable of. Louis wasn't about to underestimate his opponent again and made sure to keep his energy pent up. Schmeling's defense was commendable. At one point, after suffering 5 left hooks and a body blow, the boxer was on the floor, wincing in pain, but still got up at the count of 3. Altogether, Louis threw 41 punches, out of which 31 connected. He made sure to land a barrage of punches on Schmeling's head and torso. The match lasted 1 round. That's 2 minutes and 4 seconds of torture for Schmeling. The match eventually ended with a technical knockout win for Louis. Reportedly, Schmeling's cornerman threw in the towel, but the referee kept the match going. The match remained one of the highest performing bouts in boxing history until the fight for the right happened in 1992. Ask anyone to name the best boxers of all time, and Lennox Lewis would undoubtedly be on that list. Why wouldn't he be? The British boxer has one of the best boxing records in history. He's landed some pretty devastating knockout blows in his career, but the one everyone keeps coming back to is the fight for the right against Donovan Ruddock. The matchup was highly controversial for several reasons, mainly because everyone had anticipated Mike Tyson facing Lewis for the WBC Contender Elimination Round. Tyson had defeated Ruddock but was disqualified after he was sent to prison for 6 years. This was Ruddock's redemption game, but he was the underdog going up against the 21-0 Lewis. The match lasted 3 rounds. Or, well, 3 rounds too many for Ruddock. Lewis managed to drop him to the canvas over 7 times. This isn't to say that Ruddock didn't put up a fight. The Canadian boxer tried his best to land as many jabs as he could, making contact for some. However, it didn't matter. This was Lewis's match to win. The referee, Joe Cortez, had to stop the match after it was obvious that Ruddock had sustained a major blow. The boxer fell to the canvas, stared blankly at everyone, and kept trying to pick himself back up but just couldn't do it. So, like we said, it was 3 rounds too many for the poor guy. For this next devastating knockout, you have to remember that some people in the arena had only just sat down when the match ended. That's right. You could have blinked and missed the boxing match between David Tua and John Ruiz. The 1996 bout was dubbed the Night of the Young Heavyweights. If you were to ask a boxing fan from this generation to place their bets on who won in 1996, they'd go with Ruiz. While Tua had a commendable career, he was never a title holder. Ruiz, on the other hand, won 2 titles in his lifetime. But that would be a losing bet. That's right, Tua, the gigantic Samoan, walked away victorious that night. On the other hand, Ruiz had to be carried out of the stadium in a stretcher. For the people who managed to catch the match, all 19 seconds of it, it was painful, to put it lightly. Tua was relentless. Frankly, Ruiz never stood a chance. You just know this list would have been incomplete without Rumble in the Jungle. Muhammad Ali is regarded by many boxing fans as the undisputed king. His boxing record is unmatched, which rightfully earned him the title of the greatest. However, in 1974, when Rumble in the Jungle was scheduled, someone else held that title, George Foreman. Ali was rising in the ranks with a steady 4-1 record when he was scheduled to take on Foreman, known for his drive and raw energy. It was Foreman's match to win, and everyone, including the people in Ali's camp, knew it too. The greatest, however, told the press that he had something up his sleeve that'd take down Foreman, introducing the first ever display of Ali's trademarked rope-a-dope tactic. In a nutshell, Ali leaned against the ropes, basically allowing Foreman to land punches worth no points on his arms and upper body and tire himself out. Once Ali could see that he'd wasted all of his energy, that's when he went in for the KO. You can call it Rumble in the Jungle. You can call it the most coveted match of the 19th century, or you could call it one of the greatest upsets in history. Take your pick. By the 4th round, Foreman was visibly weak in the knees. He was tired, and the effect of Ali's devastating jabs was showing. No one could believe what they were witnessing. Before they had an opportunity to get their jaws off the ground, Ali landed a devastating blow in the 8th round that sent Foreman flying to the canvas. The ref called it, and the underdog won. Ali's career is marked by several wins, knockouts, and even a few controversial moments. Nothing could ever be as controversial as the Phantom Punch, though, that saw Sonny Liston on the floor, out cold. To say that fans flocked to the stadium whenever Ali and Liston were announced on the card would be an understatement. Their first match in 1964, however, didn't draw as huge a crowd as their rematch in 1965 for several reasons. For one, Ali was anticipated to win against the lesser-known Liston, so why bother, right? People lost big that night when Liston defeated Ali in one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. That might be why everyone was eager to see Ali's comeback in 1965. Now, while Ali did win via knockout in the 2nd round in 1965, their match went down in history for all the wrong reasons. You've probably seen the infamous image of Ali towering over a fallen Liston and seemingly yelling at him. People in the stadium that night reportedly heard Ali yelling at Liston to get back up and even said, "People will never believe this." So let's rewind a little. Ali and Liston really went at each other with everything they had in the 1st round. Liston's main goal was to defend himself against the barrage of punches Ali threw his way. He landed a few good ones himself, but it was obvious that Ali entered the stadium that day eager to win. The 1st round saw Liston lose his composure a few times, but nothing to suggest he wouldn't make it through another few rounds. In the 2nd round, when Liston landed a left jab, he was cut off by Ali's right hook. Only allegedly, though. Why allegedly? Because no one, not even the ref, saw Ali make contact with Liston. It was one of the quickest heavyweight wins in history. Speaking of which, the timings were highly contested too. Ali was awarded the win a whole minute after Liston had reportedly fallen to the canvas. Allegations of match fixing started immediately. But could Ali have been so agile that he landed a knockout right hook that no one even saw coming? Anyway, from the story behind the century's greatest sports photos to the highly charged Louis-Schmeling bout, that was a list of the greatest knockouts in boxing history.